In the quiet hours of the night, when the city streets were empty and the lamps flickered faintly in the wind, a heartbreaking sight awaited anyone who dared to look closely. There, against the cold pavement, lay a frail little boy. His clothes were torn, his face covered with dust, and his small body curled tightly, as if the ground could somehow keep him warm. He wasn't just sleeping. He was surviving. His thin hands clutched his stomach, not because of comfort, but because of hunger. The boy had not eaten for days, and exhaustion finally forced him to collapse into a restless sleep on the unforgiving street. No one stopped. People passed by, glancing for a moment before moving on. Some were too busy, others too afraid, and many simply didn't care. But destiny had written a different story that night. The boy was about to be noticed by someone whose heart beats for the forgotten, someone who sees pain not as a burden, but as a calling: President Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim was returning from a late-night inspection in the city. His car moved slowly, headlights cutting through the dim streets, when suddenly he noticed a small figure on the roadside. At first, he thought it was just another pile of clothes left abandoned, but something made him look again. He signaled his driver to stop. As he stepped out of the car, the cold breeze touched his face, but his eyes stayed fixed on the little figure. He walked closer, and there it was, a boy, no older than 7, lying helpless on the concrete. Ibrahim bent down. The boy's lips were dry, his breathing shallow, and his body trembling from hunger. For a moment, the president felt his heart break into pieces. This was not just any child. This boy could have been anyone's son, a symbol of the silent suffering that too many ignored. Ibrahim gently placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. The boy stirred, opening his tired eyes, and whispered weakly, "Food, please." That single word, food, cut deeper than any speech, deeper than any policy. Without a second thought, Ibrahim scooped the boy into his arms. His security guards watched in disbelief. This was not the kind of action a president was expected to take, but Ibrahim wasn't thinking like a politician. He was thinking like a father. He carried the boy into the car and instructed his team to drive straight to the nearest clinic. Along the way, he held the child close, whispering softly, assuring him that he was safe now. At the clinic, doctors rushed forward. The boy was severely malnourished. His body was weak, his blood sugar dangerously low, and his health fragile. Yet even as the doctors worked, Ibrahim stayed beside him, refusing to leave his side. As the boy regained some strength, fragments of his story emerged. His name was Samuel. He had once lived in a small village, but tragedy struck when both of his parents died in an accident. With no relatives willing to take him in, he wandered from place to place, begging for food, until he ended up on the streets of the city. Nights were cold, days were hungry, and every corner felt unsafe. Samuel had been invisible to the world until that night. Ibrahim listened with tears welling in his eyes. He thought about his own childhood, about the struggles his people faced, and about the countless children like Samuel who never got a chance. It was not enough to save one boy. Something greater had to be done. After Samuel was stabilized, Ibrahim personally arranged for him to be taken to a safe home where he would receive food, shelter, and care. But the story didn't end there. The very next day, Ibrahim called a press conference. Standing before cameras and reporters, he told Samuel's story not to seek sympathy, but to shake the conscience of the nation. "This child," Ibrahim declared, "is not just one boy. He is the voice of thousands. He represents the hunger we ignore, the pain we overlook, and the duty we forget. No child in our country should sleep on the street. No child should beg for bread, and as long as I live, I will not allow it." His words were powerful, but what truly shocked everyone was what came next. Ibrahim announced the launch of a nationwide initiative, a program to provide shelter, food, and education for every homeless child in the country. Funds were redirected from luxury government expenses to build children's centers, orphan support systems, and community kitchens. He ordered schools to accept street children without fees, and hospitals to treat them without charge. Citizens who watched the speech were moved to tears. People who had once turned away from children like Samuel now felt a surge of responsibility. Volunteers came forward, communities united, and a new spirit of compassion spread like wildfire across the nation. Samuel's story had become a turning point, not just for him, but for an entire generation. Despite his busy schedule, Ibrahim never forgot Samuel. He visited him often, bringing books, toys, and words of encouragement. The boy who once slept starving on the cold street now slept in a warm bed with hope shining in his eyes. When Samuel was asked what he wanted to be in the future, his answer stunned everyone. "I want to be like President Ibrahim, someone who never lets children suffer like I did." Those words reminded Ibrahim why he had chosen this path, why leadership was not about power, but about service. The story of Ibrahim Traoré and the starving boy spread far beyond the borders of his country. People across Africa and even around the world were inspired. Leaders were reminded that greatness lies not in titles or crowns, but in compassion, in the ability to stop for the weakest, and in the courage to turn one life into a movement of change. And so, what began as a heartbreaking scene, a starving boy sleeping on the street, turned into a powerful story of hope, humanity, and transformation.